Welcome to the Broker Growth Accelerator, where we discuss how real estate brokers can accelerate their growth by improving their agent recruiting and retention. I'm your host, Jim Turner, and today we'll discuss growth tactics with our special guest, who is a subject matter expert in the industry. Let's get started. Today on the show, we're excited to have Alan Kushmakov, who's a real estate broker in Arizona and who has had explosive growth over the last several years, and he's going to share with you how today. Welcome, Alan, to our podcast today. Let me just start out with kind of a few questions for you. So first of all, maybe just tell us, where do you live and how's the market there now?
So we're based out of Glendale, Arizona, which is kind of the suburbs of Metro Phoenix area. I lived in Arizona for almost 20 years. I moved back in 2003. I grew up outside of New York City, originally from former Soviet Union, but that's a long time ago. Been in real estate for about 9.5 years. I got licensed back in 2013. Like many agents initially, I went through a lot of hardships financially, and then some personal stuff that was happening with health-wise. My dad was diagnosed with cancer, 3 kids under age of 5, all of those things. But after about 5 or 6 months in real estate, I started kind of seeing quote unquote light at the end of that tunnel, right? So my first deal was after month number 6. It was a $100,000 listing right off 83rd Avenue in Camelback, Metro Phoenix area. Commission check was $2,500. It was the happiest person in the world. By the end of the year, I closed 16 transactions, built a big pipeline that year. It's interesting, I built my business essentially working consulting expireds. I had some sphere. Most of them were not ready to sell. They didn't have that much equity, with Great Recession of 2008, 2009. And then buyers, they were not ready to buy. So I had to find some business, and that's what I did. Second year in business, doubled my production to 35 transactions, hired an assistant because I was sick and tired of pushing paperwork at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening while my kids trying to play with me, and my wife is looking cross-eyed because she's not getting any type of love from me, and doubled my production year number 3 to 75. And majority of it was because of the assistant. I kind of gave her about 40 to 50% of the tasks that I was not happy about. She handled those, and I just went out there and built more relationships, developed more business, generated more leads, started generating more buyer leads. And then because of that, decided to start a team, started with the showing agents, 4 showing agents. They became my buyer's agents. Had a team for about 3.5, 4 years. Felt like I was capped. I was losing producing agents to my brokerage, not because they didn't like to work with me, but because they just felt like they outgrew the team. They didn't want to be under the team extension. They didn't want to pay 2 splits. And then about 2.5 years ago, right, when the COVID started, or before COVID started, on January 14, 2020, I opened doors to Best Homes Real Estate, a brokerage. Since then, we probably brought in about 245 agents into the company. Have 3 locations here in the Metro Phoenix area. Last year, we also started our own mortgage company. We have 3 LOs there. In the beginning of this year, we did a JV deal with a title and escrow company as well. So the goal is for us to continue to grow. The plan is in the next 5 years to have 1,000 agents in the state of Arizona and the multiple locations around the nation.
And what's your goal in the next 12 months? So you're at 240 now. Where do you want to be a year from now?
We probably want to be at around 340, 350, somewhere there. The goal for us every single month, we want to bring in about 18 agents. And the reason it's 18 is because if you multiply that by 5 years, we're like at around 1,000 agents, and obviously in the brokerage world, as you know, Jim, there's going to be an attrition. There's going to be a turnover. Every brokerage, every team out there is dealing with that. Especially right now with the shifting market, you're going to have agents going to be leaving not only the brokerage, but the industry in overall, just because they cannot produce anymore, so we kind of keep in mind all of that, but as the leader of the company, our job is to attract talent, develop that talent, and then retain that talent to make sure that the companies continue to grow.
Right. And so, finding those producing agents that are going to stick around is a critical part of obviously having that growth, right? Because if they produce, they stick around, it's easier to grow, right? Because it's not like a hamster wheel. You're not just replacing the people that just kind of fell out with a kind of leaky bucket in the funnel. So what kind of agents are you looking for? Like, what's the ideal profile of those agents that you prefer to hire that I think are going to be most successful and therefore help you hit those growth metrics?
Well, I think initially you always want to start with producing agents or high producing agents, right? But the challenge was for us is like we were a startup, and we were a startup during COVID, and trying to get a high producing agent to move or make a transition, it's tough. I'm still talking to high producing agents after 2.5 years being in business, to move their team or to move their business, their marketing, their branding. It's a challenge, right? So it takes time. So as a newer brokerage, really, our focus was brand new agents and also struggling agents, right? So brand new agents, and the way I look at it, it's almost kind of like building a Major League Baseball team. You got to have a very strong bench, right? And you have single A, double A, triple A, and majors. Single A for us are all those individuals that are thinking going to the school, and we have a sponsorship program for those. We have double A agents; those are the ones that are currently in school, getting their license. Triple A are the ones that just got licensed, and we onboarded, and they need that additional layer of support, training, mentorship, coaching. And then you have the majors, and those are the high producing agents or producing agents, right? So the way we look at it is that eventually, the single A or double A and triple A will be in majors, and they're going to be high producing agents. We've got to give them the opportunity for growth. We're going to lead with value and resources, right? But for us right now, if you look at it, is all about building that bench, and then obviously offering the opportunity for growth for those agents that are within the company, whether they want to start a team, scale their team, start their own branch. We offer that opportunity as well, and eventually open up their own brokerage, and we'll partner up with them on a brokerage side of things as well.
Right. And so, in our own hiring, we found that there's kind of like three kind of primary contributors to success when you hire people. It's, number one, what are their innate capabilities in terms of how sharp they are, their communication skills, basically how sharp they are, their motivations, like what are they motivated by, and their personality. So that's kind of one bucket. The next one is what's motivating them in their personal life now, and then what's their experience, right? And so when you're looking for the people that can grow into the mega agents, you got to kind of put aside necessarily the experience, focusing on the other two things, like how sharp they are and then what's their personality like. So what are you looking for to find those people that are, it's kind of like, I say it's the real estate equivalent of like Moneyball. Are you familiar with kind of the movie, or the book, right? Yeah. So you're the Billy Bean of real estate. How do you find the Moneyball players? What do they look like? How do you, what are the characteristics you see in someone that you think is predictive of somebody becoming the mega agent later?
I think really looking at their patterns, from their past career, their past jobs, what they were doing, some of the major challenges or hurdles they were dealing with and they were able to overcome. That's during the interview process, right? I take somebody who's got the work ethic, somebody who's consistent, someone who's actually going to show up and work, over somebody who's super talented, maybe he's got great communication skills, awesome personality, can be party in the room, but they just do not have that consistency or the work ethic, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, right. Just a quick story, like when I started my team, the first year I hired 5 agents, Jim. And for me, they all were like superstars. They're like, man, they're going to crush it. They're all going to sell like 30, 40 homes. So I was betting on the potential versus a pattern. Guess what? By the end of the year, one was left. Why? Because nobody really wanted to work. I think that year, we collectively closed like 97 transactions. And out of those 97, I did like 86 or 87. And 5 of those agents did like 10. Right? So for me, it was like, whoa, wait a minute. Why am I focusing primarily on the potential? Let's focus on the other things, like a pattern, like a history. If you're like an agent, what kind of business you got before? How did you get that business? Let me really focus on that part of it. So it's one of those things where, I wish I would have an answer for you. The challenge is I hired individuals like I thought there's no way they're going to be able to make it in this business. And they're like constantly closing 2, 3, 4 transactions every single month. There's no way you would think that they're the ideal type of an agent personality-wise. As a matter of fact, yesterday I had a top producer dinner with one of them. His name is Gustavo. He's been with me for about 3 years, was a brand new agent. He closed 6 transactions last month. Super quiet, very even keel, techie, nerdy. You'd never even hear from him if he's like in a room of people. But this guy's consistently closing 2, 3, 4 transactions every single month. So
right.
most of the
so what do you think so what's motivating him? Do you think it's kind of like implicit? Does he have like a wife and kids and a mortgage he's got to pay for? Like, what's driving him that sets him apart from kind of the others?
He just recently purchased a house. He's got a girlfriend of 11 years, doesn't have the kids, has 2 cats, runs 2 Airbnbs on the side, by the way. He works smart. He doesn't work hard. He likes the money, but he doesn't overspend. He doesn't go and buy crazy things. He buys toys, but they're techie toys. He just enjoys to live a good life, right? I wouldn't say he's a hard worker. He's not someone who's grinding from morning to evening, but he's got that consistency. And he was in U.S. Air Force. He was actually up in North Dakota for like 2 years, 3 years, protecting B-52s, you know. And I don't know, maybe that consistency or that regimen or that willpower, came about. But again, if you talk to him, Jim, like he is like not a typical agent. He's not, but he's producing.
Right. Yep. So when you look for kind of the agents that have been producing, but maybe not at a high level, and you think you can kind of attract them over and coach them to a higher level, are you using any data sources like MLS data, production, stats anywhere to help kind of identify those people? And if so, how are you going about doing that?
Yeah, so we've been using for the last 2.5 years, we've been using Market View, broker from Showing Time. We looked at the broker matrix as well. We just felt like with Showing Time a little bit was easier to use from the UI standpoint. And there you can actually see who's ascending, who's descending in their productivity, in their production. You can see, which brokerage is gaining momentum and adding in more agents and which one's actually losing agents, but for us in the last 4 or 5 months, it's all about reaching out to those agents that have been kind of descending in their business and really kind of learning more about what their plans are, what their struggles are, what their pain points are, what opportunity out there that they know they got to take advantage of, but for some reason, something is holding them back from not taking advantage of that opportunity, and really kind of identify like if they're going to be a good fit for us and vice versa. It's just one of the basic conversations that we have. Yeah.
Okay. And we know the Showing Time guys well, the Market View broker team specifically. We do have an integration with our product. We can import that and help you kind of manage campaigns around that. And maybe we can touch base on that a little later. As well as Broker Metrics, Realytics, other data providers like that. Maybe just moving on, like what, assuming you kind of find those people, like what's working for you to attract them to your brokerage? Like, what are the strategies and tactics that when you find those perfect agents, what are you doing to land them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we kind of categorize them into 3 buckets, right? So all the brand new agents are dependent agents. And for those, the biggest thing is to really get them going as soon as possible. So with those brand new agents, we assign them to a success coach or success manager for the first 6 transactions. They work together, shoulder to shoulder. The success coach is guiding them, mentoring them, holding them accountable, directing them to utilize the right tools and resources. And after 6 deals, they graduate to a next level, which is our partner level, where they're more coached in a group setting. We still handle a lot of their marketing. We still, cover their things like signs, lock boxes, business cards. So we give them access to the leads. And we call those agents interdependent agents, right? These are usually struggling agents as well that are doing 3, 4, 5, 6 deals every single year. They want consistency. And we see this quite a bit with most of the agents that we reach out to is like, I don't want to build an empire. I don't want to build a team. I don't want to sell a bunch of homes. In reality, if I can just close one transaction a month, I would be a happy camper. Like if I can just do one deal a month, and that's $10,000 here in the Metro Phoenix area, that's $120,000 a year, I'm happy. If you can help me to close one deal a month, I'm going to be yours, right? Because most of the agents do not do that, unfortunately. And really our focus when it comes to these type of agents is really get them to the point where they're doing at least one transaction a month. If they do one transaction a month, they're super, super excited. And then the third bucket of agents is independent agents. These are producing agents, high producing agents. And for them, what they're looking for is an ideal environment where they can grow their team. They can dial in their systems. They have a lead gen method that is more consistent that they were getting before. Maybe they want to have an equity in our mortgage company, our title company. Those are the two things that we offer to the selected group of agents. That's a passive way of generating income, if you will. So they're partners in those two ventures, right? But ultimately, give them the platform to shine, elevate them, recognize their achievements, give them the opportunity to coach and train our developing agents or newer agents, and really kind of, again, creating an environment, if you will, for them to continue to grow. Don't get into their business. Don't really constantly trying to train them or coach them or any of that stuff. Really kind of provide the environment where they can continue to flourish as a top producing agent.
Sure. Now, one of those buckets you were talking about, you talked about trying to get them to kind of one transaction a month. That kind of takes me into the retention side. How do you do that, right? I mean, to retain them, you need to help them do that. How does your brokerage kind of what's the infrastructure you have in place? What are the programs to kind of coach them to that level?
Well, I mean, my gosh, we got so many resources that we utilize, to get them to the point where they are closing one deal. Now, is every agent doing that? Absolutely not. There's that old saying, right. You can lead the horse to the well, or you cannot make it drink, right? So for instance, as market shifted, what we implemented is our daily huddles. Every single morning from 9 to 9:30 in the morning, our director of growth, Josh, is spending time with those agents and really kind of helping them with the mindset, answering their questions, their concerns, and really trying to get a commitment that what they're going to do that particular day. Like, hey, give me one commitment, the one thing that you're going to do today that will move the needle forward when it comes to your business, right? So that's run Monday to Friday from 9 to 9:30. Every single Tuesday from 11 to 12 o'clock, sometimes 12:30, we have a 12-week momentum boot camp. These are for brand new agents or, agents that have been in business for 5 or 6 months. And it's almost kind of like a business school for real estate. We teach them on the basics, how to put together a contract, how to put together a BINSR, how to do a buyer consult, seller consult, run comps, work inside of CRM, how to convert leads, what to send out, automations. It's a 12-week program. Every single week they attend. We record those sessions, but more importantly, what we do is we give them homework, and they have to submit that homework to us. That's the accountability piece of it. Every Wednesday, we have a workshop within the company where we invite either vendors or we invite the top producing agents to share what's working for them, their best practices. For example, last week, it was all about open houses, how to dominate open houses in the shifting market. This week, it was working with sold.com. That's a referral partner that we work with. They did the training. Every single Thursday, we have a mastermind where we're sharing, again, the best practices, what's working, not working. And we usually have about 15, 20, sometimes 30 agents that participate. And then every Friday, we have a contract writing class, right? So every day of the week, we got something going on for the agent to take advantage of. And by the way, all of those classes are virtual because we have agents all over the valley, right? South of Tucson and Prescott. And then all of these videos are also then recorded and then available on demand in our learning management system. And they're all categorized. So again, if you're an agent that missed it, if you're a part-time agent that has another job, if you got kids, whatever that is, you can always go in and watch it, rewatch it, whatever needs to be done. So that's
Right.
one source. The second thing is really what we're focusing on is the accountability part of it, is especially for those agents that are struggling, is checking at them on a weekly basis and seeing if they were able to do the things they said they're going to do. Ultimately,
Right.
If you want to get one deal in the next 30 days, think about it. What do you got to do? Well, you got to get in front of potential buyers and sellers. Where do you find potential buyers and sellers nowadays? Well, hold open houses. Right? If you hold 3 to 4 open houses a week, there's no way in the world you cannot get one solid lead out of or nurture. That's 4 leads a month if you do them every single week. And out of those 4 leads, you got to be able to get one deal in escrow. So going back to the basics, holding open houses, reaching out to your sphere. And it's not about just, hey, this person is not going to buy from me. And I'm talking about the sphere. It's not about that. It's about who this person knows, who this person can connect you with, right? It's almost kind of like peeling the onion, right? One person can introduce you to another person. That person can introduce you to 2 other people that may be in a process of purchasing or selling their home.
Right. And do you, in terms of, kind of that outreach, whether it be in their sphere or the people from the open houses, do you give them goals around activity, whether it be calls, emails, social media touches? Is that tracked in a CRM? Like, how, taking that back to accountability, how do you turn kind of the coaching into action, basically?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. So they all have a CRM. So we have 2 CRMs that we offer to our agents, KV Core and Commission Sync. So those are the 2: lead gen web on the front end, CRMs on the back end. We help them with automations. We help them to even upload the list of contacts, right? All of that done with our marketing department. As far as the accountability piece of it, it's a basic tracking sheet. It's Excel spreadsheet, right? How many conversations per day? How many appointments set per day? How many appointments came and became actually meetings for you? How many posts a day on social media platforms, right? How many videos were recorded this week, for example? It's a tracking sheet that not only our agents are utilizing, but also our recruiters or success managers utilize when it comes to recruiting and attracting agents. And that is reviewed on a weekly basis. They share that with our director of growth and our success managers on a weekly basis. Now, again, are they all doing it? No. Out of 10 people, how many probably doing it? 3, maybe 4, Jim.
Right.
It's that old saying, you can take the horse to the well, you cannot make it drink. At the end of the day, you gotta really want to do things. Motivation and the tools and the resources, even training, is not the whole holy grail thing. It's taking action from a standpoint.
Well, and I think one point I wanted to make is, right, you're setting up a funnel for them to manage leads through. You're in essence, you have your own funnel of agents, right? And their leads that you're managing through your funnel, right? Which KV Core helps them manage their leads. Our goal is to work with brokers to help them manage a kind of a funnel of agents down from all the agents out there in the market, or all the people in the market, down to a set of producing agents that kind of stick around and help you grow your brokerage. You're managing a funnel by doing that, essentially.
Oh, most definitely. Right. They got their own funnel, right? With all the leads coming in, right? With automations and retargeting that we offer for them. But we're doing exactly the same thing when it comes to the agents. We got a funnel of all the agents, and then we're retargeting to those agents. We're texting to those agents. We're emailing to those agents. We're inviting them to our events. Like, we're constantly in front of these agents as well. And that's how we're able to bring on so many agents in the last 2.5 years. In reality, most of the brokerages, you work with brokerages, if they bring 20 or 30 agents a year, for them, it's a great year. For us, like, we want to do that like every single month. Right.
Absolutely. And so when do you know that you have a great hire? Is it and how many months does it take? Is it after 3 months, 6 months? And what do you look for to know, that person was a great hire?
So when it comes to a brand new agent, it's all about, like, are they participating, when it comes to our classes, events, are they asking questions? Are they seeking out individuals to help them? Are they utilizing our tools or resources? Are they doing things they said they're going to do? If you drop me right now, I'm in Phoenix right now, and I've been doing this for 9.5 years. If you drop me right now in the middle of Arkansas and say, Alan, you don't have a marketing budget, you don't have a sphere, you don't have the tools, find me one deal. I will find one deal. Well, how? I'm going to reach out to the for sale by owners. I'll try to get a listing, and then I will sit at that listing every single day, hold open houses, leverage to the T's, and I know I'll be able to get one deal in escrow. So having that sense of urgency in real estate is the way to go. Because at the end of the day, Jim, you know this, there's no salary, there's no hourly pay, there are no benefits, right? But if you put in the time, if you show up, you work, you trust the process, you're going to close deals.
Right. Well, and that's kind of what I was getting at earlier, right? There's the kind of inherent how sharp they are, what's their personality, but what are their personal motivations, right? What is driving them to show up and right? Picking up the phone and calling is tough every day, consistently, right? So the people that have that inherent kind of motivation, something that's driving them, it's a lot easier, right?
I had an agent a couple of weeks ago ask me, is a new agent, hey, what was your business plan in your first year? He asked me that question. You know what my response was? I didn't have a business plan. I had two plans. Number one, awesome. I had to make 60 grand because I had 3 kids under the age of 5. And my bills were like $5,000 a month at that time. And number two, I had several people that told me, hey, you're making a huge mistake getting to the real estate space because most of the agents like hungry. They don't generate enough income. And I wanted to show to them, I had a chip on my shoulder that I can succeed in this business. That was my business plan.
Right. Yeah. No, I know all about consequences. So an interesting example of that recently is my kids and screen time. So like one of my son, I was having trouble getting him to focus on school. So I put a system in place where his screen time adjusted based on his grades. Suddenly he was crushing the grades, right? Like there were some consequences there. So
right? Exactly. So yeah, I mean, but again, the motivation piece of it, right? The motivation really doesn't work. You can motivate somebody maybe for 5 or 10 minutes, but in reality, they really, really want to do it. They got to do it. They have to do it. There's just no plan B in place. And those are the winners.
Right. But like, you can't tell someone to do something that they're not ready for yet, right? So it's kind of real world equivalent to that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, good deal. Thanks for your kind of thoughts on that. So, looking back on your career, like, maybe what are some of your top lessons learned for, maybe there's some people out there listening to this that are, they want to get to where you are. They want to get to the 1,000 agents, but they're not to the 240 yet. Maybe they're at, 10 or 25. Looking back at your career and what's taken you to where you are now, what do you think some of the top things are they need to be thinking about? Not on as an agent selling homes, I want to be top broker in my market. What do you think some of those things are that need to be kind of top of mind for them?
I think the biggest one, really, in a nutshell, and I hate to be simplistic, but really, in reality, whether you're an agent or you're a team leader or a broker owner, right? Prospecting solves like 90+% of the problems, and recruiting on a broker side solves 90+% of the problems. If you're attracting enough people and you're developing those people and your environment is good, culture, high energy environment, your company is going to continue to grow. The broker owners that I know that I came across, some, not all of them, that struggle the most is they just do not attract agents on a consistent basis. It's not their number one priority. It's not their number one activity. They are buried in bullshit, sorry to say that, in compliance, regulations, documents, trainings. All of that stuff is not important until you're bringing agents in a door. And if you're not bringing agents on a consistent basis, you're not going to grow because the turnover rate is about 30%. So if you have 10 agents, by the end of the year, if you stop recruiting, by the end of the year, you end up with 6 or 7.
Yep. Well, and I like to say every business has really 3 funnels, right? And success is based on, strong a strong funnel, right, including top of the funnel and all, but it's customers, right? It's employees, and then, our team members and partners, right? And not vendors, partners, true partners to work with. Any business out there, you need to be constantly building all three funnels, and
That's
your
right.
success is going to be tied to all three, right? And if you're just focused on the customers and not the other two, you're not going to have a business that can scale.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Well, good deal. I think that covers all our questions for today. Where can our listeners find you online?
Social media, Alan Kushmakov, or at Alan Kushmakov, Facebook, IG, LinkedIn, or they can email me directly. Our website address is besthomesrealestate.com. And my email address is alan@besthomesrealestate.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Alan, so much for chatting with our audience today. Some really great tips, and I'm sure everybody will get some benefit out of that. So thanks, everybody. If you enjoyed our show, please add a rating for us on Apple or Spotify podcasts. And be sure to come back next time to hear more strategies that will help you grow your business. Until then, this is Jim Turner, and don't forget, you need to start putting some of these tips to work today.
This podcast was created and hosted by Jim Turner. It was recorded and produced by Cassandra Lopez. The Broker Growth Accelerator podcast is a product of Brokerkit.